Good day, dear stakeholder, and thank you for taking some time to watch this pre-recorded video to present my action research plan. Thank you to CTU, Cebu Technological University, and to Inayawan National High School for supporting me all the way in excelling my practicum and field study. Let me start the storytelling by painting in your mind the picture of being far from being a novice as a practicum student. We work for and we work with many stakeholders like the students and the competent co-teachers. The various observations like the challenge, academic integrity, the numeracy with fewer peer tutors that were identified made the first week of the deployment a point of no return. One can question someone's capability to make it through the day as a student teacher. But with God's help, I made it and rendered 1.5 months of service as a student teacher. Such observations have been telling me, yes, there is a lot of academic writing that should be done to prepare me as a confident and effective facilitator of math active learning. My intention of this action research plan is to prepare me as a math teacher educator. Why does this action research plan matter? Yes, I need to prepare scaffolding worksheets with sets of 3 or 10 as formative assessments. These worksheets are for the zone of proximal development for academic integrity, collaborations, and per tutoring during live classes. This action research plan is not so applicable for those who prioritize income over the fulfillment of the journey of academic writing as a review of math concepts in order to avoid being a crammer as a DepEd math teacher. Here's the context. My diploma in professional education is already my second diploma. Considering that my college degree, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, was applied in the business world as an e-procurement and e-bidding practitioner, project manager of digital infrastructure projects, and for translation work requests around the world. After our family survived the COVID crisis, I decided to go local and serve back the Filipinos in order to have a more sustainable role. This pandemic-born decision brought me to my passion and calling for teaching. You might agree with some observations on the impact of the pandemic on most people, considering meaningful aspirations for such an extended life. Personally, as an existentialist, meaning in life is more on learning to be as a pillar of education. This explains the intrinsic motivation to do academic writing, tutoring, and learning goals for SPED, guidance counselor, and masters in math. Which means that the outputs of this action research plan is for math practitioners who have the time and resources to do academic writing as a preparation to becoming a DepEd deployed math teacher. Here's an example of a scaffolding formative assessment or scaffolding worksheet. So we have 2 columns. We have the column for the solution of the students, and we have a column for the detailed instructions. Aside from the scaffolding worksheets, there are other math assets that I created. So let me show you a bundle of math assets that can be prepared before the official DepEd assignment for me. Supporter of tangible learning for math, I would try to think of learning and teaching aids like the usage of the cutting of party hats and experiencing the interconnection of the paper and the code to produce conic sections. So here I have ChatGPT as my writing assistant. So let me show you a sample of a ChatGPT prompt for this activity. You are a math teacher and you would like to have an activity using real-world objects like a party hat in order to facilitate understanding of conic sections. This way, students would have a tangible experience with the different conic sections. I am thinking of organizing a group activity with groups of 3. Each group would have 2 pieces of party hats. They shall cut the party hat to produce a circle, ellipse, hyperbola, and parabola. They will use paper to illustrate the plane. And then ChatGPT will going to generate his response. As the main writer, you need to review and edit the output of ChatGPT. Note, I still have to experience the cutting of the cones to form a circle, parabola, ellipse, and hyperbola. Okay, just don't have the resources yet. This way, I can finalize a handout of a tested correct steps and procedures that the students can follow. Also, I'm thinking of having handouts and scripts. This is a work in progress document that I shall prepare myself in finalizing the Jamboard and other assets. This is a way for me to visualize the live class. You can see there are many process guide questions in this document because I prefer the Socratic way of teaching. So we let students discover the math concepts through leading questions. Again, we teach by asking questions. And here's a glimpse of the Jamboard. And this shall be updated after finalizing the handout and the script. And this is an example of the scaffolding activity or the scaffolding formative assessment. So there's a solution, a column for solution for the students' inputs, and a column number 2 for the detailed instructions. I would strongly suggest this kind of active learning because in real life, in the offices, in corporations, there are manuals or documented procedures for each task. This shall prepare our learners for such kind of environment. Each one can just ask for the process documentation, study them as they perform the task assigned to them. Each one can then appreciate the benefits of good documentation in everyday life. Note, we can ask ChatGPT to help document the process of the solutions. We can be as detailed as possible depending on the learning competencies that we have assessed that need reinforcement. And part of my classroom management plan is a deployment of self-assessments or reviewers, and such self-assessment are in Google Forms, and this can be printed if needed. So here's a glimpse of such a self-assessment tool. And finally, I prepared quizzes. So we can observe here that there are 4 sets. This way, we can condition the students to mind their own papers. I am highlighting these assets in this video in order to suggest ways for me to assist you math teachers from grade 7 to grade 12. And the best benefits of preparing these packets of learning materials are that we have transmitted to the students the culture and the materials themselves that our students can reuse as parent educators, as paid tutors, and eventually as educators in academic communities. Alright, so we would begin or continue the culture of educating the educators. I also mentioned here that we can have tablets and computers in schools and in sitios, and we can have community tutors. Again, this action research plan can be a starting point for aspiring teacher educators and teacher researchers or writers. And this can prepare myself and hopefully other aspiring math teachers in the process. I am truly a great believer in good documentation as a help to others. Yes, I truly have an intrinsic motivation in documenting my metacognition and my journey in reviewing math. In this diagram, we can see that the biggest part of the volunteerism is on the academic writing of math assets. The initial work plan of this action research plan spans up to 2032. As a status, I started just this week the writing of the 7 math assets shown a while ago. The initial estimated time of 1 day per learning competency would probably mean 1 week. This considering that I was reviewing for licensure exams. Academic communities in Cebu City and Talisay City can truly help me sustain by providing food and shelter for this project. Collaborating with LGUs can be optional and yet recommendable, especially on the need of having community tutors and computer hubs. This is the reason that I'm recording this video. This is for dissemination and data gathering purposes. In this Canva presentation, we also have a list of stakeholders and a description of their roles, expectations, and contributions, impact, and influence. So please take time to go through all of this. This is just an entry point. It can be changed based on the data gathered in the field. The intention of taking up my master's is truly to have a formal way of documenting the outputs of my data gathering using qualitative and quantitative research. Next slides, we have the action research workflow. Cost estimate, all I am requesting from academic community stakeholders in Cebu City and Talisay City is to give opportunities to me as a teacher assistant, which aligns with the creation of math assets and tutoring worth 2,000 or 3,000 per month for daily allowances. And for each school to shelter me and provide a room for the said academic writing. We have the current list of risks and issues, like the challenges with learning competency, and there can be errors in math assets. Hence, it is highly recommendable for schools to have their localized versions. Again, one of the core messages of this action research is on role modeling and how to prepare students to become math teachers. I am still in the process of incorporating these references into my academic writing. Thank you so much for listening, and please have a look at the description, a copy of the math assets prepared as an inspiration for you to start as well a fulfilling version of math academic writing as a stepping stone to becoming a depth ed math teacher.